we had someone die in my home,
Mm.
and it overwhelmed me with grief. And so, as I'm traipsing around out there under this Milky Way lit sky, I felt like I could literally see my shadow by the glow of this Milky Way in these dark places. And then it hit me. I'm able to see things that I can't normally see in really dark locations. And I thought life is the same. When we had this experience with this death, I was able to see things that I can't normally see.
Mm.
And so, and you lean upon God just a little bit more, and you seek him out more, and you're able to see what you can't normally see.
You're awesome, you're amazing, your love forever blazing, with heaven's light inside your soul. You're valuable, unshakable, you are a child of God.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Walking with the Savior podcast. I'm your host, John Merrill Kirkman, and I'm so grateful to be here. I just feel like all of you are amazing. I want you to know you're awesome. I got my t-shirt on that says you're awesome, and I'm here with a great friend, Quinn Calder, an amazing landscape artist, photographer. And Quinn, how would you define your photography?
A lot of fun, actually, but if I'm going to describe what I do, I'm a fine art photographer, is what I'd say. And I do I gain a lot of well, I started with landscape photography, and now I'm doing a lot of portrait photography, athlete photography, and do a lot of family. I do weddings occasionally, but my therapy and I get my refill when I do those landscapes. So
Yeah.
I'm a
Now,
photographer, fine art photographer.
the reason I brought Quinn on is because I've had this recent aha in the last month or so. And that aha goes like this is so when you see a starry night, you think of Van Gogh. You go, oh, that's a Van Gogh. And then you see um, the Sistine Chapel. Who painted the Sistine Chapel?
I believe that's Michelangelo.
Yeah, Michelangelo, right? And you see that and you go, oh, that's Michelangelo.
Yes.
And when I see Quinn's landscape art photography, I think, "Oh my goodness, that is Jesus. That is Jesus, like, at
What a
his finest."
compliment. You're
Yeah,
the kindest.
yeah, like, I've started to do this, and it will change your day and the way you view things when you walk around and you see beautiful you notice some trees, right? You notice sunsets, and you go, "That's a Jesus moment," right?
It happens all the time, yeah.
And,
I
so Quinn is this amazing photographer, and I'm just curious, how, did let's see, how has photographing nature and being out there in the quiet and there's a great scripture, "Be still and know that I am." I'm just curious how being in nature has shaped your relationship with Jesus Christ or your faith in him or anything like that.
that's a great question. Since I've been young, I always kind of found God in nature. I've always been kind of. I went out taking. I remember when I had my first 110 camera. I don't know if you remember those little film
Yeah.
110 cameras. And I don't know what your first one was, but that was given to me for Christmas. My mom gave it to me, and I put film in it, and I went outside, and I was in St. George, and I remember just being out there noticing these beautiful rock formations. And so I took, like, and you're limited to what, 24 a roll? I must have taken 2 or 3 rolls of pictures, and I didn't know this was in me, but at the time I did it. I just felt drawn to do it because, I've known since a young age that I see my creator's, fingerprints, if you will, or his light, particularly in, as I've developed this skill, I see it in light and even darkness. And so, yeah, I feel it draws me closer to God in a way that I can't. Here's someone who said something. Well hath the wise man said, it is a fool that saith in his heart there is no God.
Hmm.
All these things bear testimony and bespeak of an omnipotent, omnipresent power, a being who maketh laws, decrees, and bindeth all things in their bounds, who filleth eternity, who was and is and who will be from all eternity to eternity. As I looked around, I would see that everything just kind of works, because of the and you see the image of God in man and also in his creations. And so, yeah, everything testifies. That's what I see out there. Also, I served a 2-year mission in Japan, and Shintoism kind of has these Japanese people say, I see God everywhere.
Mm.
And I started seeing that myself while I kind of gleaned that from them. And it's really helped me. And a lot of people find a great deal of strength in the outdoors.
Have you ever had a just like spiritual moment
Oh, yeah.
with God in nature? And what are those like for you?
Often.
Mm.
I remember as a kid reading scriptures on the beach of the Snake River. I just had a pretty powerful experience out there as I was reading the Word of God, and it answered. It came in. I was struggling with some things, and it came in at a time that I needed it, and I knew I needed to make some changes, and it flowed very well with me. I spent a great deal of time in the Tetons, in the Uintas, and but probably in photography, a singular moment was October 14th at 10:30 in the morning.
Oh.
I photographed an eclipse from Capitol Reef National Park, and see everything align, like the sun and the moon, and then all my preparation. I mean, I put hours into just the location, and then it took me 7 hours to drive to the location. And then when everything came together, as the laws of God decree and the laws of nature combined, everything just and I put a, a person on this cliff's edge, because at 10:30 in the morning, when an eclipse has happened, I had to put him 1,000 feet above me. So I had to find a cliff that was 10,000 feet high, put him with his motorcycle. They tight anyway, it all worked. And I was just
I've seen
blown
that.
away. You've seen that picture?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And so that was kind of one of those moments where you're just like, God is so good to me. But it's every sunset, brother. I mean, it really is. When you just watch things work. And lightning, this past summer, I was at I was photographing a lightning storm, and when that all comes together, and it's pretty tricky and it's technical, and I'm just trying to catch this lightning bolt. And when it works, I just thank God, and I'm happy, do a little dance, and I take home the treasures in my camera box. So, yeah.
And what is it you feel when you're having those, kind of moments with God and that you said you feel God in nature. What does it feel like for you?
It's his love. Um, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but you just, you know, a hug is pretty powerful. And it's just sometimes it's overwhelming. It's excitement. A lightning bolt is exciting, but a nice soft sunset leaving, particularly when you just kind of refill in the tank, and it is quiet sometimes. Sometimes, I'm standing right next to the highway, but I'm the only one looking, at this beautiful thing in front of me. And it just, yeah, you feel enwrapped in his love.
Mm.
But it's hard to describe that. I don't know how you say that. It's something I seek for frequently in
Mm.
quiet places and in everywhere. And
Yeah.
you begin to see light everywhere once you start down this path. At least I do.
Yeah. It's interesting because what you just described is sometimes you're on the highway or you're just standing there.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
highway and everybody's missing it, and
Right.
that's what we do. We
Yeah.
do.
We get busy.
But at the same time, you're having this
Yeah, I'm having an experience.
You're having an experience with God.
And
There's
I use the term with celestial. I'm having a celestial experience because that's the way you describe what's in the sky. And it is from God. I feel that very powerfully.
and
Yeah.
and a little, I like to think of it maybe like this, a little slice of heaven, a little view, a little
Yeah.
glimpse, a
Yeah.
little closer to
Sure.
heaven,
Sure. Yep.
like in the presence of God.
Uh-huh.
And I have I recently just said this. I said this today actually. I have these weird experiences. Well, I okay, here's my experience. I'll just tell you my experience. I was in seminary today teaching. It's fourth period. We got 10 minutes left, trying to wrap up, trying to have an
Yeah.
impactful closure to my lesson. And this kid, this kid looks at me with big wide eyes. Brother Kirkman, I just saw a lizard running across the floor.
For reals? Like for real.
For reals. And I'm like, no, you didn't. And he's like, no. And everyone's like, where? And then all of a sudden, I see this lizard run across the floor. And I was like,
Who planted it? Which of your students planted that lizard? You know it doesn't grow up and stay in your room. You do realize that kid that called it out probably is the one that put it there.
ah! I never even crossed my mind, but I hurried up.
Really?
I
Where do
hurried
you
up.
think that lizard came from? You think it's living in the wall?
I don't know. It
Yeah.
snuck in some hole somewhere.
No, the first suspect would be the kid that called it out. It was
Okay,
in his.
I'm gonna tell
Sorry,
him
you
next week.
finished, but I'm sorry. You go on. You know that's the way it
So
works.
I told him I caught this lizard, and it was a beautiful lizard, and
How big?
just a little baby guy,
Yeah,
little baby guy. I'll post a picture for those
sure.
who are watching on YouTube. You can go, you'll see a picture. But here's the deal. I said this later in the day because I showed it to a few of my coworkers, and I talked about this catching.
You kept it?
No, I just put it in a little thing. I had to show people because they're like, "You caught a lizard in class?" Nobody believes me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna release it. Okay, I haven't yet because
No,
I
no,
gave-
I have no problem with it,
well,
but that kid's probably going to want his lizard back. Anyway.
Anyway, so I brought it home and I was going to show it to my daughter, and I'm going to put it in my backyard where I got plenty of spiders. Long story short, some of my coworkers like figures, John, because they know I'm catching snakes, and this thought came to me, and I said it kind of like this. I said, God knows I love snakes, and so snakes and lizards frequently cross my path because God knows I love snakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe they cross all our paths, and just because you love snakes, you see them more.
Maybe that's it. But here's the thing. I have started to think with this whole, oh, that's a Jesus, right?
Yeah. Right.
And you start doing that, and it's like, oh, Jesus is so good to me.
Yeah.
Jesus created those beautiful flowers, I like to think, because
Yeah.
he knew I would love them. I
Yeah.
like to think Jesus knew Quinn Calder would love
Snakes, lizards,
what is it you took a picture of with the moon and the sun?
an eclipse.
Thank you. All of a sudden, my mind couldn't remember. I like to think God knew Quinn Calder loves eclipse, and he created eclipse so you could have the privilege, the joy, the beauty of
Well,
that
let
experience.
me tell you more about that. I
Tell me
teach
more.
seminary. I teach seminary as well.
Yeah, we're both teachers.
Yeah, and so I don't know how much you want me to speak about my work and our faith, but I'm just
Oh,
gonna
just
cut loose here.
talk Jesus. Cut loose, man. Riff on
All
it.
right. All right. I just don't know what you're anyway, so it happened on a Saturday, and as you know, teachers can't, if it was on like a Tuesday, I'm toast. We're not gonna be able to see it.
Yeah.
It lined up on a Saturday. It lined up in Capitol Reef area, and I met my wife in Capitol Reef. I was a backpacking guide down there. I know the area like the back of my hand. I knew, and so I had an idea of where to go, to get to find, and everybody else was down there photographing it, but they're shooting at 10:30 in the morning, and they're shooting at the sky itself, and all they got was this sun and moon, which is marvelous, by the way.
But everybody got that picture.
Everybody got that, and putting a person in front of it was kind of the goal. And so I had to find that cliff, and I knew the area, and I think our next eclipse is going to be like when I'm 74. And so this one just lined up. And if what you're saying is true, it worked, you know? He knew I needed all that. And yeah, it was a marvelous experience. I tore my meniscus, by the way. In the process, you have no idea how hard photographers work for their pictures. I rode my motorcycle 35 miles from the cliff top to get beneath him, and I was riding a little too fast on the way back, and I think I didn't feel it till I got off the dirt bike, and boy, I felt it after that. But well worth it. But just a little side story there. But man, as you say that, it's kind of impactful if Jesus, because everything lined up perfectly for me, and I've never even thought of it that way. You're a good man, John.
Well,
Thank you.
it's just like as I think of these things, like I just know Jesus loves us deeply and personally and powerfully. And our mom showed up with the little Star Wars figure on Christmas Day because you know what I mean? That's what she wanted.
Yeah, yeah,
And if the more we look for these things, like I love your idea, like the fingerprints of God are everywhere.
yeah.
And Jesus shows up in our day. Like I think we walk by 10 million trees a day.
Oh, yeah,
And well, maybe not 10 million, okay? But we walk by dozens of trees and
yeah.
in Utah we see these beautiful mountains and
All the time.
we
Yeah,
just kind of glance at them.
yeah,
But if we look at it and go, "Oh my goodness, that's Jesus."
yeah.
And you know,
We acclimate to the Creator and the creations, and we feel a little entitled sometimes. And so
mm,
I think it's good. And that's, in all honesty, if I'm speaking the truth here, that's what photography's done for me. It's made me slow down,
mm,
get out of this acclimation, if you will, and notice
mm,
the light. Notice what's happening in the celestial skies above us. Like the new moon's coming up in a couple of days. Most people don't know that. I know that because when it's super dark, you get different photos, and you start paying attention to your surroundings a little more. At least that's what it's done for me, particularly what's happening in the sky and the light. It really matters
well, think
in
about this.
photography. Yeah,
Well, think about this scripture: "Be still, know that I am God."
right.
And that's what photography forces you to do, kind of.
To be still. Yeah,
If you're gonna do scenery,
right.
you got to be still. You got to be patient. You got to sit there,
Yeah,
take a million pictures, and just be patient. What could you tell me about being still, being in nature, and feeling
right.
God, and feeling God?
Uh, well, it's pretty reverent for me anyway. Let me give you an example. Like we're having a new moon come up, which is a time for astrophotography, and that's photography of the stars at night. And so you go to what's interesting is I'll go to a very dark place. Um, the Uintas, for example, here, or because they're closer to me, or you go to southern Utah somewhere where you can see the night sky and you can see the galactic core of the Milky Way. You
Mm,
can see it with your naked eyes if you
mm,
acclimate to that. And I'm serious. I had a difficult experience in my house, and I'll just tell it quickly. We had someone die in my home,
mm,
and it overwhelmed me with grief. And so, as I'm traipsing around out there under this Milky Way lit sky, I felt like I could literally see my shadow by the glow of this Milky Way in these dark places. And then it hit me. I'm able to see things that I can't normally see in really dark locations. And I thought life is the same. When we had this experience with this death, I was able to see things that I can't normally see.
mm,
And so, and you lean upon God just a little bit more, and you seek him out more, and you're able to see what you can't normally see in the bright blaze of the sunlight and even the full moon. And so those moments of silence, of being in God's creation, seeing, and in Utah here, and I don't know how many listeners you have outside of Utah. We've got 5 national parks. We've got our more than our fair share. I mean, praise be to Brigham Young for stopping here, because this would have been a horrible place to have been a pioneer. I
yeah.
mean, you can't harvest red rock very easily, but he felt inspired to stay. And I think I'm kind of, well, I know I'm blessed by it. I don't want to get too sidetracked by your question. My bottom line is you see it everywhere. You see and feel God's love everywhere, particularly in beautiful places like a national park. But I also want you to know I've seen some of the most amazing things just where I live, in the sunset, at a lake, like I said, next to the highway, there in Utah Valley. The sun is setting, and the glow of Timpanogos, this stunning glow. It's turning these hues of orange and pink and blue with a little alpenglow above it, and everybody on I-15 is just flying right by. I had to pull over, and I had to take a picture of it, and I took several, and I just stopped there for 10 minutes, be still, and anyway, those are sacred moments to me. I don't know if that fully answers your question, but
No.
it's something very real to me, and it's fulfilling, and I feel God's love in it.
Yeah.
And it like you say, I love that it causes you to slow down. But those Milky Way moments and the teachings, like I just shared with you, a teaching of being in the dark, seeing that what I couldn't see
Mhm.
without the night sky, was is really helped me in that struggle and in other struggles. You know.
Well, if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is there's gonna be dark moments of life, but in those
Yeah.
dark moments of life,
Yeah.
1, if you look, you'll find the Savior, and 2,
Right.
you'll be able to learn some things and see some things
That you can't normally see.
you can't normally see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever seen your shadow by the light of the Milky Way, brother?
Uh, boy, that one's not ringing a bell there. So my thought is there's just, you know, some of my favorite experiences being out in nature is on a ski resort.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things is being on a ski lift, coming up over the ridge of a lift. And sometimes you'll go up on a ridge and then you got to go up another one.
Yeah.
And there's been times where, you go up a ridge and then this whole valley opens below.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I love it when I'm on the lift by myself and that happens. And just, because
Where
it's
do you ski?
well, Brighton or something like that. I'm not a big skier. I'm a once or twice a year skier.
Sure.
But if I can get that moment, and I don't always get that moment because ski resorts are crowded, but
Yeah.
I've had a few of those moments where you come up over that lift and you just feel, and it's just like, wow, God
Yeah.
is so good, so
You look
impressive.
around that bowl and you're just going nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just feel his love. And there's this yearning within me that desires to be out in nature.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm asking. I mean, you're not the only, I hear this all the time. I think it's because we feel God's presence a little more
Yeah,
easily.
I
Just like,
do.
Mount Sinai for Moses. He went to the mountain, and he got his temple experience high on the mountaintop. And so I really think there's something to it. In fact, in the Old Testament, all over the place, they go to the hills. You know, they go to the mountains.
And the thing is in society, having grown up in Los Angeles where it was
Yeah.
just, wall to wall streets.
You grew up in L.A.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
And it was just wall to wall streets, and
yeah,
I mean, of course you could go to parks and different things like that, but it's something that if you can get out and like even around my house there's a field or like 5 to 10 acres, whatever it is, that is just kind of nature.
yeah,
It's just, undeveloped trees, deer, squirrels type stuff.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And I love to get out there when I need to connect with God and just feel God.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what is something you learned about Jesus Christ through his creations and the scenery you take pictures of?
Well, I've shared with you a couple of things already. I know I didn't say specifically this is but yeah, things like they align. There's a natural order to things. There's a law, and God follows these laws to give us what we see. The eclipse, everything just was, I it was all on paper. And then to have it actually unfold was amazing to me, to just know that God follows a natural order and laws and you know, and I as I think about this, let me give you a couple of experiences. One on that, I pray a lot out there, and it's just a great place to talk.
Yeah.
And so there's answers that come then that are in the form of "I'm here," and that's a little more powerful in some places. Ironically, when I was in Japan, you living in LA, you just think there's nothing there. Well, it's not true. It's everywhere. I lived in Osaka, Japan. That was my mission. It wasn't the Kyoto mission or the Kobe mission, which it is now. It was Osaka, which is a concrete jungle. I think it was geographically, I was told it was the smallest mission in the world. And there were moments there, when you look up and you see the North Star and the Big Dipper, even in Osaka. A big storm came through and cleared it out. And I just saw that and I knew he was there. And you see it in small little things too. I guess the Japanese taught me a lot more than the bonsai trees and the
Mm.
and just again, I don't know. You're asking me to say something that's hard to describe, John. It's just in me. There's just a connection to, the creator. Even when I look at my own hand, I'm amazed at his creations and how I work and how, the blood is pumping through our veins and you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
It just works. And so there's just way too many things, your eyes, we're just blessed with this body that we have and our surroundings that to me testify of the creator. Everything works. And isn't it marvelous? Have you ever had something not work? That'll get you to appreciate what does work.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm getting my knees replaced. I tore that
Mm.
meniscus and I'm aging. Of course you're not. You're a young whippersnapper. But I'm aging, and as things begin to fail, you're more grateful for what you do have. And so I'm not trying to divert your question. It's all encompassing. It's everywhere if you let
Mm.
it.
If we let it.
Right.
That's beautiful. There's sometimes the Lord will say this, "Let your heart be
Yeah.
comforted
Yeah.
if you let it, if you seek it." And in this day and age where we're so distracted by devices, and it's almost like
Yeah.
we don't have time to be still and know that I am God. But
Right.
maybe and with this topic today, the idea for me is create space for
Yeah.
me to go sit outside somewhere,
Yeah.
look at the heavens,
Yeah.
ponder and feel God's love through
Yeah.
his creations.
Right. Breathe.
Breathe, right?
Breathe and pray. What I've found a great deal of comfort recently in formally meditating,
Mhm.
and paying attention to and then after that, I can really focus and talk to God.
Mm.
And that's very helpful because actually, when I'm out there focusing on capturing the light in photography, some of the best lessons come to me when I'm home pondering it. I was in Death Valley last year, National Park, and I'm photographing one of the most, well, it was 2 years ago, I'm sorry, 2003. And it was wet in Badwater Basin. They had a rainstorm. I sat through a 2-hour rainstorm in one of the driest, hottest, in the driest, hottest place in the United States. And I was there at this rainstorm, and it had rained. It was a wet year that year. In fact, if you look up Badwater Basin on the internet, you're going to just see a salt flat. And it's so dry there that the salt flats, they get those formations. I don't know what they call them, these puzzle pieces. I was there and all that was gone and it was a pool.
Mm.
And I knew why they called it Badwater Basin. And I'm there and I'm going out in this water and I'm going deeper and deeper. And it's this salt water, but it looks crystal clear and beautiful and clean and drinkable. I come across a dead carcass of an animal. And I'm like, what is that? And I got closer to it and it was a fox. And so I'm photographing this beautiful sunset. Everything's reflecting. It's everything I want. And I'm just kind of near this carcass. And I thought, I've got to document this. So I went to, and I've taken hundreds of pictures. I back up. I frame it was a dead fox, by the way. I framed that dead fox in the picture. I snap, take some pictures of it. And I didn't think much of it till I got home and I started pondering it. And as I developed and was working in Lightroom and post-processing these photos, it hit me. How did that little guy get down there? What happened? He's in this desert area and he sees a pool of water and he runs down there. And the title of the location is Badwater Basin, but it doesn't look bad. In fact, it looks wonderful. And so I have this theory in my mind, and I felt like God was saying this to me, Quinn. This little guy, this fox that you see in your picture that you took, partook of the bad water, even though it looked good.
Mm.
And you speak of devices. You have the Iron Age, you have the Stone Age, then the Iron Age. What do they call today's age? And this doesn't happen in every century. They call this the information age, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm processing this photo, I'm like, this fox partook of bad information. And I'm just being taught, we've got all this water around us, some good, some bad. We have all this information, and it may look beautiful and clean, but it could kill you spiritually if you're going to partake of it. And so, this is all post processing while I'm sitting at my computer and it just hit me like a ton of lead, and I was being taught. And so, I learned in that experience, again, from the maker. It's all, and I just was like, wow, okay, I got to be careful what I put in my mind and brain. And it's got to be, even though it looks wonderful, and it was a stunning location. And so I printed that and I took it to the Swiss Days event up here in one of the art shows that I displayed at. And I got more questions about that than any other piece of art, because what's that? It's got a long tail. What's that cat? And I'm like, that's a fox. And I was able to teach hundreds of people. And I remember some girl from Germany going, are you saying that I'm bad? And I said, no, you got to be careful what you put in your mind. And it was just a wonderful moment. I don't even know if she was Christian, and she was young. And I said, you live in a day and age where you got to be careful. It's not all good.
Yes.
So please be careful. And so, and that's, like I say, that's how I've been taught.
Yeah. And we live in a day and age where truth is more valuable than ever. We need to know the truth.
Right.
And somebody could say, truth doesn't matter. No, to that fox, it did matter.
Well,
right? Like
that fox was deceived.
Yeah. Is that good water? No, that's not good water. What's the truth? There's a truth.
Right.
Yes, this is good water, or yes, or no, it's not.
There's
that truth is really important.
Satan's done a very good job at making good, like Isaiah said, good look evil and evil look good. And this was the prime example. And I just was so grateful that those things came to my mind as I was pondering post and looking at that. It's become one of my favorite horrible pictures. I mean, it's not, anyway, the scene is stunning. I feel bad for the fox though.
Hey, what does the fox say? Nothing. It does.
Not a dead one, that's for sure. Not when they're gone.
Hey, for those watching on YouTube or on audio, we'll put that up on our YouTube edition of this episode.
Yeah, I can say.
In fact, let's do this now. Well, I want to end with this, and then we'll go through some of your art. So the podcast listeners have something to end on, and then we'll go through the YouTube. Here's a scripture I want to end with. Doctrine and Covenants 76:22. And this is so beautiful. And now, after the many testimonies which have been given of him, Jesus Christ, this is the testimony, last of all, which we give of him, that he lives. And jump down, it says,
you keep going. That's what I'm saying. Don't you stop there.
And that by
I know
him,
he lives, but
and that by him, and through him, and of him, the worlds are and were created, and the inhabitants, that's us, thereof are begotten sons and daughters unto God. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you want to watch the YouTube version, you can go watch the YouTube. We're going to go through some of Quinn's art. Look up Quinn Calder on Facebook and reach out to him if you're interested in some of his art. But stay tuned. If you're on YouTube, we'll go through some of his art now. What would be your last word to our audio-only listeners, Quinn?
That God lives, and I love his creations. I've been so blessed by him. My favorite part of Scripture is the creation. I think it all works perfectly and harmoniously and testifies of Him. The creative process is perhaps the most sacred power that He shares with us. I mean, I'm not trying to make it that, but truly, and as I look around and see creation all around me, I'm just grateful to Him and for His creations.
Amen, brother. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on this week's episode of the Walking with the Savior. Enjoy your walk this week with the Savior. Now, for those on YouTube, let's share some photos, Quinn.
Seeing the Light is what I titled this, and this is photography 101, if you will. And it's also kind of my testimony all blended in one. So, you're from northern Utah. These are just photographs that I've taken right here close to home. Most of these places are within 30 minutes. Well, probably an hour from where you live. That's right. I could get to this location fairly quickly.
Oh,
Of
wait,
course, you want to
wait.
get.
I need you to go back to that. Okay, Quinn,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw you post this maybe a year or two ago.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
And this photo, I just want to sit and stare at this.
Yeah, it kind of sucks you in, doesn't it?
And I feel like I want to lick the picture.
Why?
It just
Never,
looks
never been cool.
delicious. It
Does it
just looks
really?
amazing.
Well, I mean, there's some thought behind it. You want to hear it?
Okay.
There's a certain time where the yellows and the reds blend. And it's about right now, if I'm telling you the truth. We're starting to get our yellows, the reds are strong, and then the aspen, those are the maples, then the aspen trees start to pop up. And that doesn't stay. The red's going to be gone in 2 or 3 days after this picture's taken, and most of that is red, and then the yellows begin to be strong, and then I put temp in there in the background on purpose, and it's layered, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers, so your eyes keep getting sucked into it. So you go ahead and lick your screen all you want, John. I hope it tastes good. I probably had to put a little flavor on it if it were live.
I just go, that's Jesus. He is just so gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the highest compliment. And that's kind of a nostalgic picture for us Latter-day Saints here in northern Utah, isn't it? Again, I love to photograph the light. And so I've gone from turning around and photographing, with the light at my back to photographing into the light. And that takes a little bit of technique too. But this was me hiking down from a lake, and I saw that lone pine, and I just thought, I want to get that. And this is up at Steiner, Camp Steiner, up in the Uintas. It's now called Camp Sunrock. It's owned by a dear friend of mine, and I spent a lot of time up there. This is just 30 minutes away from my house. It's called the Provo River Bend, to the S-turn in the Provo. You can access it by just hiking down the Provo River from the north side here, where you can enter into it. And you got Timpanogos, just a beautiful morning. Take pictures while you can. That tree on the right is gone. It got blown over. I don't know what that's called, but they're all over kind of in the high country. They start to show up. Anyway, it's just a beautiful night. My son and I broke away. My wife was working late, and I took my son with me, and I just have fond memories of him walking around and behind me as we watch this beautiful sunset, get that hug from the Savior, if you will. Just know that He's there. And again, it's always great when you can share it. This does take a little work. That's the Red Castle area in the Uintas. And there's thought put into this, of course, the reflection of the Red Castle. By the way, you wouldn't know this, but the Uintas have a lot of red rock in them. Most people think it's gray granite. There's a lot of red rock as you get deeper into it. And then I wanted something that your eyes would go to in the foreground, and so I put that clump of grass right there, and so your eyes kind of go deeper and deeper, and you're layered into it. Anyway, in northern Utah, we've got a lot of beautiful scenes. This lower left-hand picture here, that's the picture I took just right next to I-15. That lower left-hand shot there. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff happening there. I got somebody at my door right now. Sorry about that. Have you been to southern Utah?
Oh, of course.
Where have you been?
Oh, I've been to, some national parks down there, all the national parks in St. George.
Please, John, can you tell me the name of one of those locations?
Arches, maybe.
Yeah, good for you. Okay, you passed the test. Can you name all 5 of the parks in southern Utah?
Arches, Zions. I.
All
There's there's
right,
there's a third
we need
one.
to get you out. There's
Okay,
5.
give me the 5.
Well, the one you see on the left is Cathedral Valley and Capitol Reef National Park.
I've never been
And,
there.
and brother, it's a gem. That's where I met my wife, was down there. Tell me which national park that is.
I've been there, but
That's
it's not
Thor's Hammer in
Thor's
Bryce
Hammer,
Canyon. And the
Bryce
key with
Canyon.
this is this, yeah. The key with this is the snow. If you can go there in the wintertime, you get a great contrast of red rock. And contrast is it just is beautiful to your eyes. Everybody loves contrast, the snow and that red rock just pops in the snow. So, and again, depth of field, your eyes go deeper and deeper and they see more and more in that picture. Cathedral Valley, Capitol Reef, rainbow over Bryce Canyon. When I did this presentation, I was in Bryce Canyon, so I've got a lot of Bryce Canyon in it. This is a place near Hanksville, and it blooms once or twice a year. Well, not once or twice every, I don't know how. I mean, the last good bloom was about 5 years ago, springtime, near a place called Factory Butte. It's a great place to dirt bike too, if you're into dirt biking. This is,
Take me back to
yep,
that picture before again. One thing I love about that, no, the one with the blooming flowers. Yeah.
yeah.
One thing I love about that is look at the rock and the dirt. Look at that dirt. That dirt is starving for water.
Yes, it
And
is.
these plants are sucking all the water they can
Oh
get out
yeah,
of that dirt. But
yeah,
it just kind of, to me, when I see plants like this, I'm like, this to me is like the hero that perseveres through
yep,
the dryness, the dry times of
uh-huh,
life. It's
yep,
like screaming to me, keep going, my friend. You
yeah,
just keep showing up, and life will bring you the rewards of your diligence, persistence, hard work, and your consistency day in and day out of putting
yeah.
up and showing up.
I love it. Yeah, it teaches a great deal of patience, doesn't it? That's a great lesson. Yeah, now you're beginning to see what draws me back to this over and over again. This is a famous spot. Photographers love to go here. Can you see why?
Yeah, it's just
Look at
loaded.
that, isn't it? That's called False Kiva. And here's the sad part. That's a Type 2 location in Canyonlands National Park, and it was desecrated. It was, I don't know what happened there, but you cannot go to this location currently. It's against the law to go there, which makes me sad because we had a wonderful experience here. That's January 16th, um, probably about 2016. And we just were there as a family, watched the sunset, and it was beautiful. This is more Capitol Reef. I love Capitol Reef, and so I'm glad you don't know much about it. Just kidding, but no, I'm not. Do you understand what I just said?
Yeah.
Our national parks are pretty busy. This is near Goblin Valley. It's just a butte off to the side of the road. I like to go there in May and get the flowers with it. There's Zion at night, and that's the Milky Way stuff I'm talking to you about. You see the galactic core there. And I brought in light for that picture. I have a little light to the left of me that's lighting up that hillside there. And just a fun night. It's 2 or 3 in the morning. And those are things you have to do to see certain things. Here's your arches. That's near Moab. Turret arch through the north window. I have a little video here, but we'll skip that. I started photography. It was a camera given to me as a gift from my sister on the right there. Her name's Deanne. She gave me her, she got a new camera and it was my birthday. And so when she upgraded, I got her hand me down. And then I started, this is the first picture that I can remember taking strategically. I put the camera on a tripod and I messed with the settings and got that result. And I was just hooked. My son's posing there next to I didn't use a flash and was using natural light and it worked, and I got this little moment of my son who's now on a mission decorating the tree or stealing candy from a tree. And we were just having a good time there. I'm kind of self-learned, self-taught. I've read a couple of books. This was one of my favorite ones from Brian Peterson. I'd recommend that, Understanding Exposure. And he taught a few elements there aperture priority. You can shoot on that, and I've got the settings here. It's also known as f-stop. It controls the size of the hole that the light passes through, which determines the depth of field. The tighter your aperture, like if you're at f22, you get a very crisp picture. And you can create what they call a bokeh effect if you go down to an aperture setting of f22. Did you understand anything I just said?
Yeah.
Okay, so the tighter your opening, the more clear you'll see stuff.
Mm.
The wider the
Wow.
opening, that's an f2, you get a little blur in the background.
Okay.
And so you can get rid of background noise, like when you're doing a portrait like this woman, you can kind of blur out the background and it focuses
Wow.
on her. And
Wow.
so and then there's, in order to an ISO setting on a camera controls how sensitive your camera is to light. So with a high ISO being less sensitive, and with a low ISO, your camera's less sensitive. So you bump it up to 1600 and you can capture more light. There's a downside to using a high ISO, and that's noise. You get a lot of noise into your pictures with that. But your shutter speed's also an important element. You can make the longer you can expose something, like with water, you get a cottony effect. Or you can, if you'll notice on the right, I took that picture in the Uintas, pointed at the North Star, and kept my shutter open for a long time. So, and other books that I've read, and I did a couple of workshops that kind of taught me how to do this stuff. And then I have an app. This is called Photo Pills. That's how I aligned the sun, the moon together in the celestial experience I had with the eclipse. Yeah, that all kind of came together there. Any questions so far? I know I'm going fast, brother.
No, that's good.
Yeah. And this is kind of where I like to dive into what I've learned. And as I read scriptures, I envision pictures that I've had, and this one came to mind. And and the earth was without form and void, and I caused darkness to come upon the face of the deep, and my spirit moved upon the face of the water. And what was interesting to me about verse 2 is I always thought God was associated with light. But if you'll notice there in verse 2 of Moses chapter 2, I caused darkness to come upon the face of the deep. And that I'd never noticed that before. And so God, we know that he's in the light. That's easy, but we rarely think that he would cause darkness to come upon the face of the deep. And that's right what that verse says. And then in verse 3, of course, let there be light, and there was light. Verse 4, and I, God, saw the light, and the light was good. And I, God, divided the light from the darkness. And so you got two elements to life. And there needs to be opposition in all things in order for us to have clarity and to experience life the way it was meant to be experienced. And so contrast in pictures is huge. If you can get light and dark elements, like this is done in black and white. It's in Arches National Park near Turret Arch. It's in the windows, but the fog was coming in, and I just got lucky. I've tried to recapture this half a dozen times, and that fog is kind of a key element there. And it made it just a wonderful photo. And then a couple of other things. Like I said, I like to photograph into the light. And this is a verse in the Doctrine and Covenants which came to mind. He ascended upon high as he is also descended below all things, in that he comprehendeth all things, in that he might be in all things, and through all things the light of truth, which truth shineth. This is the light of Christ, as he is also in the sun, and the light of the sun, and the power thereof by which it was made. And I mean, there's the Doctrine and Covenant. There's the scripture just telling us, bam, he's in the sun. And so it makes sense that we see him everywhere. And anyway, this was a great moment that I had while backpacking in Canyonlands National Park. That's at the base of Druid Arch. And that good looking model at the bottom is me. Sometimes I wish I could carry, a model with me everywhere I go. I think a person adds sometimes an element of size. That arch is huge. And so I just positioned myself there and took a picture of that. And I want you to pay attention. I'm not fully, the sun's not fully exposed in the pictures that I photograph of the sun. And that's an important aspect. Let me tell you why here in a second. But he is also in the moon, and the light of the moon, and the power thereof by which it was made. So God's in the moon. And also in the light of the stars and the power thereof by which they were made. I mean, there's just nothing like sitting under the stars where you just can kind of get lost in them and just breathe and, feel close to God. And the earth also, and the power thereof upon which you stand, and the light which shineth which giveth you light, is the light of, is through him who enlighteneth your eyes, which is the same light that quickeneth your understanding, which light proceedeth forth from the presence of God to fill what, John?
The immensity of space.
I mean, it's way out there. This picture was taken at Temple of the Moon. It's perhaps one of my favorite shots. Temple of the Moon in Capitol Reef National Park. Just a great evening. And again, it's early in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, dark places. The light which is in all things, which giveth life to all things, which is the law by which all things are governed, even the power of God, who sitteth upon his throne, who is in the bosom of eternity, who is in the midst of all things. And I put these pictures of people here that I've photographed over the years to illustrate this point. And we have the blessing of being amongst kids as teachers. And I see it in them too. If, I'm being perfectly honest. The light which is in all things. You see these kids as their eyes just testify of Christ, their goodness. I was feeling it today too. And one of these pure-hearted kids was saying a prayer, And I've had the privilege of photographing a lot of not, and some of these are strangers too. I want you to know that they're not all my students. Some of these people I meet that day, and we have a nice photo, senior photo session, and some of them I know very well. So anyway, and I'm grateful that kids will allow me, not kids, and families and people will allow me. It's kind of a personal thing. When you take a picture of a person, it's, and you can see the light in their eyes. You see even the fingerprints of God in people. Frequently, I do. So I want to teach a little bit about landscape photography. And tip number 1, there's 2 rules. You shoot in the morning or you shoot in the evening. If you want professional results, you need to follow that rule. Do you understand that, John?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Shadows.
Yep. Yeah. Dusk and dawn. And the lighting is generally softer. They call it the golden hour.
Yeah, my wife uses that term.
Yeah. Yeah. And good photographs are generally taken because the light's not too harsh and the shadowing on your face is usually quite pleasant. The restoration, and this is, I'm going to quote some of the leaders of our church here. The restoration of the God, this is Elder Dushku in a talk he gave called Pillars and Rays. The restoration of the gospel of Jesus Christ began with an explosion of light and truth. A teenage boy in upstate New York with a very ordinary name of Joseph Smith enters into a grove of trees and prays. And it goes on to say this: that is the Lord's typical pattern, brothers and sisters. Rather than sending us a pillar of light, the Lord sends us ray of light, and then another and another. And so let me explain that to you. If you look at my photography in these 2 pictures, this is in the sacred grove here on the right. Most of the sun is obscured. 75 to 90% of the sunlight is obscured behind that tree's branch. And I do that because if we take too much of it, like Elder Dushku explains, rather than sending, the entire sunlight, a pillar to us, the Lord sends us a ray of light and then another and another. And that seems to get that pleasing, it does. It gets you a pleasing, what I call a solar flare or a solar star. And because if you go directly into the light with a full blast of sunlight, every impurity on your lens, every impurity on your, shows up. And so he gives us line upon line and precept upon precept. And you can see that light even working in natural light. He doesn't give it to you all at once, line upon line, precept upon precept. And like I said earlier, some of my favorite moments are of people in landscapes. And this is one of those instances. This is one of my best friend's daughter when she got married last summer. And those rays of light are continuously being poured upon us. The scriptures teach that Jesus Christ is the light and the life of the world, that his spirit giveth light unto every man and woman that cometh into the world. And his light fills the immensity of space, giving life to all things. The light of Christ is literally all around us. So, and that's one of my favorite talks, if you can't tell. It just resonated with me very soundly. And there again, you see that again, most of the light there is obscured, and it just gives you you get a ray of light that, again, line upon line. Our eyes love this S curve in this picture here. It just kind of sucks you in. And this was one of my best sellers at Swiss Days a few years back. People love Lake Powell too. That ought to be a national park as well, I think. It's just, have you been to Lake Powell much, John?
Not much, but I've been a couple times, yeah, and it's amazing.
It is amazing. It's good to be. So here's another couple of examples of pillars and rays, more line upon line. And this is in the Tetons. I don't know if you've ever been to Grand Teton National
Yeah.
Park. This just came together. I mean, I can't explain how this happened. I was in the right place at the right time, literally. I didn't prepare for this at all. I didn't plan it at all. I just watched this. And in fact, as you asked your questions earlier, this was a sacred moment for me, just to be in the right place at the right time. And I got to experience the sunset right in the saddle of the Tetons with these beautiful flowers in front of me. And what was unique about this moment, John, is there was another photographer there. And I don't know how to explain this. You could tell we had both done this for a while. I kept my distance from him. He kept his distance from me, because what was happening as this sun was going down was sacred. It was almost like, when you're in the temple and you whisper, except we didn't talk at all. We could have talked, but I could just tell we were both having this celestial experience. And it would have been rude in the moment to have broken that silence. And so we were just quiet. And when I left first. I looked over at him. I nodded and said goodbye. And there was this connecting moment where it was like, thank you. Thank you for not interrupting this thing that we just experienced together. It's hard to explain how that worked, but we had an experience with, the creator that without words being said was quiet, and it just brought about reverence. And I was grateful for that moment. And that nod said it all. I mean, that was the communication. Sunrise or sunset, this happens every day at the moment of sunrise, where darkness is being overtaken by the light, symbolizing the enlightenment, overcoming ignorance, sin, death, etc. When we invite Christ into our life, the darkness leaves. And yet every one of us is different. No two people experience God's light and truth exactly the same way. Take some time to think about how you experience the light and spirit of the Lord. You may have experienced these bursts of light and testimony as peace spoken to your mind concerning a matter that you worried about. Again, this is Elder Dushku that I'm quoting here. You haven't seen this picture. This is a place called Christmas Meadows up in the Uintas. And again, you can drive there relatively easy. And I would recommend that you do that. Gospel glasses was another lesson taught to us by a leader. Have you ever looked into an eclipse?
Yeah.
If
2018 there was, or
Yeah,
16 or something.
yeah, you had to wear special glasses
Yep.
when you did that, did you not?
Yep.
Elder Stevens taught, when you put on gospel glasses, you find enhanced perspective, focus, and vision in the way you think about your priorities, your problems, your temptations, and even your mistakes. You will see brighter light than you could not see without them. Another tricky part of taking this picture, other than the location and the motorcyclist and me having to travel 35 miles to get 1,000 feet beneath him, was the filter on my camera. It's a 10-stop neutral density filter, which is, I mean, if you look through it, you can't see much, but when you look directly at the sun, you can photograph the sun. Without it, you're going to harm your sensor in your camera. Same thing that would happen to your eyes if you steer directly at it. And this is the picture I described earlier to you.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was super fun. Landscape photography tip number 2. I'm just teaching as I'm showing here. Because of tip number 1, you will always be shooting in low light. You will always be shooting on a tripod. There is no hand holding in the world of professional landscape photography. And this, I'll tell you this right now, John, this is the way you tell the good from the bad when you see photographers out there, particularly when they're photographing landscape photography. Shooting people is a different game altogether, but if you're a landscape photographer, you become married to your tripod. If you want professional rules, you've got to follow that rule. And of course, Helaman 512 is a great example of that. You want to cite that for me, brother?
Build your foundation upon the rock. All of a sudden, I'm like,
I'll give it to you. Remember, my sons, that you must always build your foundation upon the rock of Christ. That when the devil shall send forth his mighty winds, yea, his shafts in the whirlwind, yea, when all his mighty hell and his hell shall descend upon you, it shall have no power to overcome you, because of the rock upon which you are built. Which rock is your sure foundation, whereon if you build, you cannot fall. You build on the rock of Christ, you will not fall. And you've got to do that with your camera and your life, okay? And so Whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken unto a wise man who builds his house upon a rock. And the rains descends, the floods come, the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be like the foolish man which builded his house on the sand. The rains descends, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall thereof. So build your foundation on Christ, the rock. And another principle here, and I get into this, John. You asked me a question for your podcast. And when I see my pictures, the lessons come. This is perhaps the most photographed place in Utah. Have you seen a picture like this before?
Yes. Yes.
That's Mesa Arch in Canyonlands National Park. And do you know why it's so alluring to us? Why we love it so much?
Is it
There's
the
a lot
longest
of
arch?
reasons. Excuse me?
Is it the longest arch?
Oh no, not even by close.
Okay,
But it's the
sorry.
most photographed. No, I don't need to be. I'm sorry if I sounded like I was. But, it's the glow. Look at underneath that thing. There's a reflection of the sun. You got the sun coming in, and then it hits the rock that's close to us, and that red rock reflects and lights up that belly of that rock, and you get this glow. And then with that arch, you get this stunning landscape of Canyonlands. Washerwoman Arch there in the back on the left, the LaSalle Mountains back there on the left, and the sun, the sun star coming through again, line upon line, precept upon precept. And all those lessons come to mind, but that reflection of the sun hitting that rock, lighting the belly of that Mesa Arch it's unique and it's rare. I shouldn't say rare. You find a few like this, but it's that glow. We love that reflective lighting because it's soft. And this is the lesson I learned from that. One, this is really what it looks like. I mean, you see that picture and it's like, oh, look at how serene. But in reality, like I said, it's the most photographed location. So this is typical when you're there. It's quite rambunctious. And so you have a lot of people there, but notice the glow on that. But the lesson I learned is ye are the light of the world. A city that's set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light where? Unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men. Your reflective light, that men may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Now, you may not be that sunlight. You may not be the sun. You may not be Jesus. But, John, you sure reflect him in what you say and do sometimes, don't you? And I do.
That.
Yeah, and I do that as well. And incidentally, this is an interesting story. When we were there, I literally had somebody from Korea on my right hand, somebody from New York on my left, and then a tourist bus full of Chinese came up behind me as I'm in all this. And so there were hundreds of people around us. And that sunlight starts coming up, and this guy from Korea has traveled all the way around the world to be here at this arch for this sunrise. And it was a stunning scene, but it got a little tense because of all the people here. And we started kind of and again, he was so focused that people were talking around him and it was kind of a social environment. He just lost it, probably because he was wanting it to be, anyway, he was focused. He goes, no talk, just shoot, and the rest of us were stunned because of his response. People are watching us all the time. And I got to remember this as well, to be a better reflector of the light, It's about people and relationships. It's about having his image in our countenance and treating others as he treats us. And if we can do that, I think we can be surrounded, as this picture indicates, a nice serene setting. But in reality, it was pretty tense. If we can keep calm under pressure. Anyway, another illustration of tripods. Tripods made all those shots possible. On the left that's called the Standing Rock in the maze in Canyonlands National Park. Right there in the middle, man, it's in Escalante, Calf Creek Falls, and then Zion, of course, on the right. You have people ask me how I get rid of all the people in the Narrows in Zion's Canyon National Park, and the answer is a tripod. You put yourself on a firm foundation, you put a neutral density filter on that camera, people disappear. If you look closely at the bottom, you can see some people, but most of them disappear because it's a long exposure and they move and they become invisible. Tripod was taken with that. Guess who's that's a picture of?
You?
Yours truly, Mount Moran. I named my oldest daughter after that mountain behind me there. Here's another interesting lesson. I'm going to close with this. I'm probably boring you and your listeners to death, but I could go on with about photography forever. Section 6 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Behold, I am Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I am the same that came unto my own, and my own received me not. I am the light which shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. That was a lesson taught to me on this evening. Do you know what's happening in the sky there that caused? And that's not photoshopped in there, brother. That's the sky.
Wow. This is the Northern Lights.
Right. And we had so I went to a dark place that's there in the Uintas. If you'll notice in the lower right, you got Smokey Bear telling you right next to the highway there, the fire hazard of the day. So you can see that, but you just point this in the sky anywhere during those northern light, and he is the light that shineth in the darkness. This is a dark night, but you can see a glow in the sky. How does that work? And so, you can see the lesson there. I am the light which shineth in the darkness, and the darkness can't comprehend. It's dark always recedes when the light shows up. Jesus Christ is that light. And anyway, I've got 200 more slides, but I'm not going to bore you to death. I wish I would have kept these things in mind when I was talking on your podcast, because those are some many lessons that I've learned that I've really enjoyed. And it just keeps giving, brother. Just keeps giving. And so how long? We've been on here for 50 minutes. How is that possible?
Thank you so much, brother. I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and thank you for testifying of Jesus Christ. And for me personally, what I'm seeing is, slow down, be still, and know that I am God. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Take care.
Your future is bright when you walk with Christ.